So, I found a problem.
So, I just figured this out the hard way a second time. God, it did make a damn mess though.
So I'm going to be starting this video backwards in comparison to how I usually do this. Usually I already have the computer in front of me and we're going over it, digging into it. In this circumstance, we're going to be going to get this computer. I have yet to actually pick it up. So I was browsing around Facebook Marketplace and I found this pretty interesting listing. And the reason why I'm going to pick it up is there's a couple things I want to show you guys just in case you're trying to hunt down parts for a good deal or you're doing similar stuff to me. Clearly we have an old case here. Got a bunch of hard drives. If we look down there, there's an SSD at the top, but here's where things get interesting. So this is an older case, and here, this is where we can tell there's going to be a little bit of money. I actually did a Google Lens and reverse image searched this IO shield, and it comes back as a ASRock Z370. So for 75 bucks, we could be all the way at the bottom of an 8th gen, which I doubt it, and I'll explain why in a sec, or all the way at the top, even with a 9900K if somebody flashed the BIOS. And that might be a possibility, and let me go into that a little further. Another thing, if we look at the GPU, I know these pictures are awful, and this is also the reason why it hasn't sold. This is how you find these deals, is because of these awful photos. So if we look all the way down here at the GPU, which is sagging quite a bit and a little bit scary, you can see a couple of things. The first thing I notice is it looks like an EVGA IO. You can tell by the lines down at the bottom. It's a very similar EVGA style. I'll throw an image up on the screen as a comparison. The one concerning thing is that the DVI port has two little dots right there instead of the newer like 1080 Ti having just the line DVI port type. This one actually looks like an older version. This might be a 980 Ti, which would kind of suck, but we'll see what happens. And then down here, we have a Seasonic power supply, which any Seasonic power supply is good at this price range. But here's where it gets even more interesting. If we look at the front here, got a bunch of stuff going on, Blu-ray drives. Now, if we look right here, we have this SwiftTech liquid pump reservoir combo. And that's what is making this whole thing intriguing. If we go back and look here, you'll notice that there's what looks to be like no, what would you say, like fin stack here. So this is probably a water blocked card, which for most people, I would avoid this, but I have a lot of 980 Ti blocks and I would love to use one. This right here is probably going to end up being something halfway decent. And you can actually see a radiator up top here as well. Half plugged, it looks like. I'm not really sure. So anyways, for $75, this is a no-brainer, and it's really not that far away. It's about a half hour. Let's head over there right now.
Yeah, I got it in an auction. I don't know much about them.
What do you do, like estate auctions, or like how's it?
Storage units.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Cool. Does it have the back panel?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I
Yeah.
don't know if that's the screws. What's up, Luke?
Yep. All right, man. I'll give you a rating. Thanks. Appreciate you.
On right when I got home. And I was wondering why all of this was unplugged. These are all SATA cables and SATA power. And sure enough, right when I turned it on, it started to drip, and it dripped quite a bit. And luckily the hard drives, which actually we're gonna take out right now, there's still some water on some of them. They'll probably be just fine, to be honest, as long as they're not powered on while the system is running. You know, it'll dry up and it'll be okay. It might be hard to see, but there's a good deal of water all right here from where it dripped. And I feel like I'm spoiling this a little bit because we're gonna go over the specs, but you can kind of see what's going on in here. And I did pop off the cover when I was at the place. So luckily, some of the drives didn't get wet. Like here, this SSD is okay. Just a 120 gig. This one got a little bit wet, but again, guys, they're not powered, so these will actually probably be fine. They just need to dry. This is unfortunate, unless the guy, you know, had the same exact incident.
This kind of hurt to edit, not gonna lie.
So another 1 terabyte. That one's got lots of water. My God. Lastly, this is a Seagate 3 terabyte. Just gonna leave this fan going and let them dry out. We'll test them tomorrow. I'll do an update on if these work. I wanna really let them dry completely. But let's get back to checking out the specs. So we get unfortunately, just a GTX 980. This isn't even a Ti, but it is one of the copper hydro ones. Has the EVGA logo on the bottom there. I might actually keep this thing for my own personal collection. I got a nasty kink right here, a Z370 Extreme, and a 8,700K, and I know that because I got into the BIOS right when I got home. Where this is leaking, I have no idea. Maybe up here somewhere. It only leaks for a little bit and then it stops, and nothing over here gets wet. So I'm gonna actually turn it on real quick. I know some of you guys are gonna think I'm crazy, but
honestly, you'd be rightfully so.
also there's a string up top here that's like holding these tubes in place. I don't know what that's all about. And yeah, again, this kink is really terrible over here. Another thing that's kind of funny is this drain hose tube is like an actual garden hose level size. I don't remember these, if this was a thing. Oh, it's all right. We're leaking, so it is filled to the rim.
So I emptied out all the water in the sink, and then I used the data vac to get the rest of the water out, and it was still containing water.
So I just figured this out the hard way a second time. As you can see, the floor is all soaking. So the reservoir leaks when it's at a certain angle, and that's why all the water was pooled up. Missing feet, you can see that the water is actually pooling in this corner right here. Ah, what a mess. But I still have faith, believe it or not. Let's just get to taking this apart. So the reason I feel comfortable turning it on is I can see exactly where it's dripping down actually. And I think what it is there's a fitting that just needs to be tightened, and I can tell it's like it was only doing it under a certain amount of pressure.
I would say I'm about half right about this, and you'll see what I mean in just a second.
So we got an 8700K, 16 gigs of RAM, and that's it. And I'm gonna turn it off, and we're gonna tear this down. These clips are kind of annoying. They like don't always go all the way back. Also, we did get a Wi-Fi card. So let's pull that Wi-Fi card out. Older Intel Wi-Fi card.
So right out of the gate, there's a few things wrong with this system. First of all, the tubing is a little bit too big on the inside for the barbs that they chose. Some of them are correct, and then some of them are not. There's two on the reservoir that are not, and they kept slipping off, and that's where some of the dripping was coming from, but not all of it. And I even got to a point where I had to start yelling my kid's name because I forgot to pick up the paper towels.
Oh, Jesus.
But that is a lot of water.
It's gonna be quite hard to see, but inside here, you see this Bits Power fitting here? You can kind of see some water at the very top. So I think it's coming from here. So there's either a crack there or the fitting is not all the way tight, and it feels a little funny. Here's the EVGA card. Looks pretty nice.
So at this point, we're going to take out the motherboard, processor, and RAM, and the power supply. All of those are going to be transferred into a different case.
This is the water block, which looks pretty nice, so I'll be keeping that for a future system. We got an 860 XP Seasonic 80 plus platinum power supply. It's pretty nice, but what the hell is this? This is not where this cable goes. I don't know what that is. So we got to test this power supply. Really weird, but nice power supply, that's for sure. And to make matters worse, because everything is wet, everything is just way grosser. All right, we're gonna attempt to take this out. Looks like there's two screws here. The amount of water still coming, oh my God. This all makes sense now. The entire cap is missing. I don't know if you can see it. Hold on, give me a sec, guys. So the cap is missing on the top, and the water's just been leaking out. And I have never used this, so I'm stupidly, you know, just watching it all spill out. Ah, it's still peeing. And sure enough, in the bottom of the case, look at what I found. I'm assuming that this is probably the cap, but it doesn't even turn, so. Also, there's a lot of spider cracks right around those outlets. So while we're waiting for things to dry, I'm gonna take this out. We are gonna test the motherboard in just a minute. Man, I've built hundreds of computers and hundreds of water-cooled computers. This might be the one that's given me the most run for the money to making me wet and everything falling apart. So, you can see, don't follow me now. Oh yeah, just keep leaking. Leak, leak, leak. You guys know her? She's gotta wear the cone. All right guys, so I reassembled the half case, and it's actually it's in pretty good shape. It's missing some feet, but I can find some new feet pretty easily. What am I gonna do with this? I'm gonna put the water cooling parts back in it and sell it as just a case with water cooling parts for like 50 bucks. And I'll do that because someone will want this half case. These are still
kind of popular even though they're old. That plus I think that pump res combo is just fine. The cap was just off of it, which is insane. Totally my bad too for not checking that, but I didn't notice it. So some of you might remember this as well. We got a couple of these 1080 Ti's for $50, which was an amazing deal. So I think we're gonna use the 1080 Ti, and this is gonna go up on my little wall of collection cards. Just gotta find some better way of making sure it's stable. Here is the new case. As for the 8700K board, this looks pretty good. It's already pretty clean. I did clean it down a little bit. We're gonna be using this. We're gonna be using the 1080 Ti. I'm actually swapping the RAM to 32 gigs. We're gonna be using the Seasonic power supply that came with it. We're gonna be using this new case. I'm gonna get rid of these crappy fans that are in there. They're the daisy chained awful fans, and a 2 terabyte SSD, a 2.5 to keep the cost down. When I ordered this case, it came with this really nice GPU bracket, so I figured the fans would be legit, but they're not. They're just static RGB. They do not change colors at all, which kind of sucks. So I gotta give some credit to this case because they decided to use these longer screws down at the bottom instead of having to make you take out the hard drive cage to get at the screws for this portion of the fans. All right, we're gonna be using some MX4 on this CPU. Now this RAM is probably gonna barely clear, but it should be okay. Let's just double check it. Looks like we cleared. So this is one of those cases that only comes with the 6 installed standoffs. They did give us extra, so we're gonna install the other 3 as well. So I'm pretty sure all of you guys have watched videos on how to install motherboards, hook up cables, put the PSU in, all of that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna try to blast through this section pretty quick. I don't mind that you can see the label on here, and I'm sure people would like that, but I think I'm gonna cover it in a white piece of vinyl. So no funky B-roll for this PC today. We're pretty much gonna be putting it up for sale as soon as possible as the holiday seasons are coming up. As you can see, it does look pretty good. You can also see I was a little bit worried about these infinity fans not showing up, being up front here. Normally I would put them inside, but I hate that honeycomb looking texture there. So anyways, what do you guys think? I think it looks pretty good. Let's install some Windows 11 and see if it works. And I'm gonna throw up Battlefield just for the heck of it. I don't care what anyone says. The hardest part or scariest part of any PC build is updating the BIOS. So I'd love to give you guys a price breakdown as to how much everything costs here, but it's a little bit confusing because we got a lot of these parts along the way, and that's the part about PC flipping and part hunting and stuff, is that eventually you just build up so much inventory that random things are hard to remember. For an example, the GPU, we bought 3 of these, 2 1080 Ti's and 1 Titan XP for $150. That was something Min scored. I don't know if you remember that, Min, if you're watching. So we have a $50 GPU, $50 case, $30 fans, and then how much are we gonna count this motherboard combo? The CPU cooler was free. I will be telling the customer that buys this that I will upgrade them and credit them if they want to switch out the CPU cooler. I just haven't had any new ones come in, and I gotta order a few. So all in all, I put this entire system at around $200. That's including the Windows key and everything. So that's how much I spent on it. I'll probably post it for about $375, make $175 on it. It's not like too crazy. And then since this does support all the things that things like Battlefield need, we could even upgrade the processor over time. I wouldn't suggest putting a 99K in here, but 9900K in here, but you could if you really wanted to. All right, guys, let me just show you what's going on here. So I've tested this a few different ways now. So this test we're doing is actually 1440p, medium settings, and we have FSR on balanced. I found that this is probably the best version of what you can get, like visual quality wise. You can drop it down to 1080p, but believe it or not, you only get about 10 more FPS in this game. And I've tested 3 different maps now. So again, I'm not very good at this game. So let's just deploy and we'll run around. This is a different map, looking like 80. Yeah, the maps all change a little bit, and testing online multiplayer it's a mess. You can never get like the same thing over and over again, but as you can see here, not doing too bad other than dying. 75 to 80 FPS in the city. We can drop this down to 1080p in a minute just to show you guys, but let me respond real quick. And I always got to remember, like in this game, I play so much COD. In this game, I got to slow down. All right, so go down to graphics, go back to resolution. We're gonna drop this to 1080p. What am I doing? There we go. And we'll leave FSR on the exact same thing, just so we can know, we can see the exact change from 1080p to 1440p. The last couple places I played were in a city, or sorry, in outskirts, so this is different in a city. Back up now to about 100 FPS, so a little bit better. Drop into the 90s. And the other maps I was playing, I was seeing a lot less variables. It was like 10 FPS almost every time. Finally. Also, the CPU temperature, I know it's high. I'm not surprised that it's high based on the smaller CPU cooler. Again, we can address that. I'm gonna bring it up to the customer. If I go to sell this, I'll say like, hey, do you want me to change out the CPU cooler? And if that's something they want to do, I'll do that happily. It's just gonna cost a little bit more money. And everything's about a budget. I'm actually listing this for $380, which is, I think, a fair price, honestly, all things considered. And I like to pass along good value. So I had like 17 messages on this, and this PC is already sold. So we're just wrapping it up. And I'm gonna make sure the label's gone there.
Up right.
380, yeah.
You don't go to the left?
Can
You cannot go 350?
Nope. Too many people, man.
370.
380, man.
370.
375. So I took 10 bucks off the PC, and the reason I did that, I somehow allowed the guy to put the computer in the car while we're talking. I don't know how it kind of slipped up. We're having conversation, and then he started to bargain with me as the computer is in his car, and his wife is kind of like looking at me, or his girlfriend or something. And yeah, so I just let him get 10 bucks off at 370 USD. So I don't feel like that's a bad deal. I don't know. It was a weird situation. But anyway, I'm going to be probably trying to get a body cam of some sort so that in the future I can make sure all this stuff goes correctly. I actually haven't had any issues over the last 13, 14 years. I had one person pull some scummy stuff on me, but like other than that, it's been pretty clean. Drop a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.